Hello, I am Miriam from Keto Chow, and this is Chris.
Howdy.
And today we have an awesome guest. This is Indigo Nili, or Nili Barrett is her real name. She's not blue.
Hello, Indigo.
I answered Indigo. It's fine.
Okay. You've been on a health journey for quite some time, and I'm sure you don't have everything completely figured out. You're still a work in progress. Maybe there's some insights that you can give that will help people on their health journey as well. Speaking of that, we know you started kind of working on a health journey early in life.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what you've been through, some of the maybe insights you've gained as you've been going along?
I was overweight as a kid, especially like through high school years, and I was on a pretty standard American diet. My mom did cook a lot from scratch, so we got a good foundation of meat and things, but then there was a whole layer of processed foods in there. And so...
Processed like cheese and eggs? Not that kind of
Yes,
processing.
that. Also, Oreos and Reese's Puffs and all the things. And I love to bake too, so I was doing all kinds of cakes and brownies and cookies. And so definitely addicted to sugar. And about when I was 18, I had met my now husband, and we were going to be getting married in not too long, and I was like, I need to lose some weight. It wasn't about health. I mean, I felt fine. Looking back on it, I know I had some issues going on, but I just wanted to look good in my wedding dress. So I went on the Atkins diet.
Okay.
That was really big back then, and everyone was talking about it. And so I went on the Atkins diet and lost like 40 pounds in a few months. And I was like, this is it. I found it. I found, the magic diet that everyone should follow. It was amazing. I had to get my wedding dress taken in about 3 times because I lost so much weight right there at the end.
Wow. Okay.
It was wonderful. And then after that, I decided to go ahead and keep learning about nutrition. And that's where I kind of ran into trouble. Even though I've gained a lot of good information and learned and grown, but I kind of had this idea that you could just learn more about nutrition and it just builds. I didn't have the concept that everyone disagrees.
Right, and that's a lot.
And so, I heard that you have to have carbs, you're going to die without them. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to do that. And so I went through a lot of different diets through the years, all the years of having kids. And funnily enough, funnily, is that a word?
Sure, why not? Make it a word.
I ended up really close to the Atkins diet with, what my baseline diet is now. And it makes me wonder, like, even though I did learn a lot through all the different things I tried and did, it makes me wonder if I had just stuck with the Atkins diet all of those years, would I, be in a better place, be in the same place? Because my diet now is very meat-based. It's lower in carbs, although I play around with different amounts to see what makes me healthy. I just know that high protein, high meat, whole food tends to be the best for me. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, you asked for tips. It's like, looking back, I'm like, I could have just stuck with the Atkins diet. That simple, and probably would have been pretty good. I didn't have to get so into the weeds with all the little things.
Now, getting into the weeds and learning more, has that helped you, optimize things better? Has that been beneficial to you to learn that?
I would say yes, but I would also say it's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
So there's definitely ways that it complicated it too much. I got to the point where, I never was diagnosed with any kind of eating disorder, but maybe orthorexic tendencies.
Okay, hold on. What does
that word mean?
Orthorexia?
Yes. Orthorexia is basically just being obsessed with everything having to be healthy and perfect. Like, I have to eat the perfect diet. That can mean different things for different people. Vegans, their perfect diet would be no meat. Once you go down the rabbit hole of learning about different foods and things, it's like, aluminum foil is going to kill you, and the microwave is going to kill you, and you got to get all the plastic out of your house. And, it's like, eventually there's nothing you can eat, and you have to go live out in the woods by yourself. I had to get to the point where I needed to find a balance, where I was making myself unhealthy in certain ways by trying to be really healthy.
Right.
Okay.
And so to find the balance of being healthy socially and like taking out the stress of all of that makes me healthy in a certain way, in a different way than eating nutritious food makes me healthy. So it's like a balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we know stress is one of those things that if you're so stressed about eating healthy, are you going to be healthy?
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
sitting down to the same meal in a calm space in your head versus a stressed space, you could have a completely different reaction to the same food.
foods. Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple questions from customers. You mind if we just dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, here is one from Jillian. My daughter's 14 and needs to lose 30 pounds at least. What do you think of a young girl following a keto diet?
When I started losing weight on Atkins, I was about 18, 19. So very close. And I had to lose about 30, 40 pounds. So very similar situation. And I did find that Atkins approach was amazing for losing weight at that stage. I mean, when you're that young,
You can
pretty
just
much
stop
anything.
eating bread and you're going to lose weight.
Exactly. Stop drinking the soda, stop eating bread, and it's going to happen. So having something that you respond to quickly, like seeing the weight drop for me, that was huge for motivation to continue. So I definitely think it's a great option. Obviously, I'm not a doctor or healthcare provider in any way.
You're a mom.
Just personal opinion, if I had a child that was in the same situation, I'd say, yeah, go for it. I don't think that every child needs to be on a ketogenic diet forever. I think there can be healthy whole food carbs in a balanced diet, especially for kids with their metabolism. So I'd say look out for any kind of hormonal issues if you start, as the cycle progresses, like if skipping cycles or anything like that. Maybe some whole food carbs help, but to start out to get the blood sugar under control, just going low carb for a while is probably a really healthy thing to do.
Well, and for someone that young, it could even be as simple as just don't eat sugar.
Yes.
Remove added sugar from the diet. Maybe remove things like bread and rice.
Yeah.
And not so much junk food. Everybody is going to agree that that's a better way to do it.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think it kind of depends on the kid too. Some kids might be really gung-ho and I'm going to do this. Others, it might be easier to say, cut out the processed carbs and maybe still have fruit, maybe still have sweet potatoes, cut out the soda and drink salty instead, something like that. It kind of depends on the kid and what's going to be easier for them. But at that age, there are a lot of different things you can do and get results. And so you have a lot of flexibility, I think. Yeah. So what's going to work mentally, socially for them, all that you can kind of play with.
Yeah. I think too, cutting out eating between meals and abuse of whatever favorite treats they have. If they really have a favorite treat that's a donut, do they eat one donut? Because maybe if you're eating 3 donuts, that's the problem.
Yeah. Don't look at me!
And the other thing you mentioned was adding more meat. And I think that is a huge one because a lot of times we look at diets like taking away.
Yeah.
Like I can't eat carbs, I can't eat all my favorite things. But when you just say, just focus on eating meat at every meal or increasing the meat you have at every meal, it's extra, it's bonus, but it does have effect. It will cause you to be more satiated and maybe not to go back for seconds on dessert or whatever it is. And so with kids especially, they're mentally at such tender ages, and you can, you have to be kind of careful how you don't want to just say, oh, you're overweight, you need to lose weight, therefore we're taking away your favorite foods. That can be so damaging. So to just encourage, and that's what I do with my kids, is every meal it's like, what's your protein? And so if they want to have some kind of a treat, I'll say, what's your protein? You have to have it with protein. And so it's not restrictive, it's actually adding.
I just talked to your daughter about twisted bacon.
Okay.
Literally, they came to visit, and I gave them, there's some playing cards, and I'm holding a bouquet of twisted bacon. Anyway, I recommended trying twisting bacon.
Yeah.
Because you can fit twice as much bacon in the cooking container. Mm-hmm. It cooks better, especially if you get the thick cut stuff. And she's like, let's go make bacon right now.
Yeah.
We could have.
Yeah. At our Airbnb where we're staying with Lindsay's family, we were making bacon yesterday morning for breakfast, and all the kids came in and they're like, oh, bacon! Like all of them, bacon! bacon. So it's not like, no, you don't get to have XYZ treat. It's they're excited to get bacon. Make them excited, help them to be excited about the healthier option.
Now, you started your journey to lose the weight for the wedding dress, kind of a common thing. How has the diet that you've chosen helped you in other ways that may not be related to weight loss? I know you've had issues with inflammation, with other kind of chronic problems that you're still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell us some stuff about that?
Yeah. So really with eating lower carb, eating higher protein, eating enough fat, it really took care of my metabolic health. Like my blood sugar just beautifully under control, insulin low, low triglycerides, all these things that we look at in the keto world. And so I really credit keto, whole food keto for that. But what I found was that even though I was eating a very clean and even strict diet, it was very close to carnivore, very meat heavy, almost no vegetables, no nuts, no dairy even for a long time. I thought that going farther, stricter, would fix some other health issues I was having. And I found that wasn't the case. Like the stricter, the time when I was the strictest, I found that I was having some real serious and worsening health issues.
Oh, really?
I found out I had iron deficiency, even though I was eating red meat sometimes 3 times a day. And my ferritin was 9. It was extremely low.
Wow.
And so I had in my mind, like, I'm on this healthy diet. I can't have these problems. And so I almost didn't get, the blood work done. In my mind, I was like, no, I'm healthy. I'm eating this healthy diet. And I really found that diet is not the only thing to look at. So even though it gave me a huge, like a great base foundation for health and metabolic health, if my metabolic health had been out of control, like the other things would have been so much worse.
Well, you might have uncovered these underlying issues that you didn't even know were a problem, because it's like trying to listen to somebody calling for help when there's giant concert speakers going. You can't hear it.
Yes.
Now you've taken care of the big problem.
Yes.
You can move on to the other things.
Yeah, so I had to, I both recognize that diet is a huge factor in health, overall health. But I've learned for myself that it's not the only thing. And just doing the diet harder or doing it stricter doesn't always fix the problem. It fixes a lot of problems, but it doesn't always fix the problem. And so I had to kind of shift focus, and instead of trying to optimize my diet more, because that's where my brain would always go, it's like, okay, I'm having this problem. What do I cut out? What do I do harder? How much longer do I need to fast? All those things. And I had to really switch when I realized that all of those things were not getting me to where I needed to be. So with my iron deficiency, I got down the road of treating gut health, because your gut is a big factor in absorption of nutrients. And so I was like, well, maybe my gut is unhealthy and I can't absorb the iron. So even though I'm eating this perfect diet or very healthy diet with all of these nutrients, maybe my gut can't actually access them. And so I did some gut healing protocols, lots of different supplements. I've tried lots of different things. And getting my gut health to a good place has made all of the difference.
Really?
Yes. And so before that, I was eating this very restrictive diet because I had to. If I ate a salad, I was in pain.
Oh, wow.
If I had Keto Chow, I was in pain. I had a really severe aversion to xanthan gum and then other fibers. And so I remember it was so sad. A few years ago, you guys had sent me a box of stuff, and it was so generous and kind. And I had it in my pantry, and we went through this hard time when our dog died. And I was like, I don't want to cook. I'm depressed. And I'm like, I'm just going to have Keto Chow so I don't have to cook.
Okay.
And I couldn't even tolerate it. And I was
Wow.
like, this is bad. Like there's something wrong. Because before it was like if something, hurt me digestively or whatever, it was like you just label that as bad, and then, you eat the other things. But I was like, there's something wrong inside me and the way my body is responding to things. And going through the gut healing protocols opened up my diet. I couldn't eat peanuts without like doubling over and abdominal pain. I couldn't have the Keto Chow. I couldn't use xanthan gum as a ingredient in recipes. Now I can have all of those things with zero issues.
Nice.
Wow.
And so that's something that going carnivore even for 90 days didn't fix. Like I could go really strict and keep my symptoms low.
Okay.
But anytime I tried to add those things back in, I was back to pain. And it wasn't until I really focused on gut healing that it expanded my diet. I can pretty much eat anything now without, I still obviously make what I feel like are healthy choices, but I'm not constrained by the pain that the food was causing. I still try to keep my diet gluten-free and, grain-free and whole food and all of that, but I don't have to be like, if someone invites us over for dinner, I don't have to say,
I have to bring my own food.
Yeah, I'm going to just eat out of my Tupperware. I have more freedom now. So I could choose to still eat a carnivore diet if I want to, but I don't have to. That's the thing. And I get to enjoy Keto Chow, which has been a huge thing, just in the convenience and, being able to enjoy the different flavors with my kids. Like, it's just been such a blessing for my life. And I wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't worked on the gut health to actually change my body, and instead of just labeling things as good or bad.
Yeah. So I have a question. If you're going to try a protocol or, something, how long do you give yourself before you say, no, this is not working?
Yeah. I think it can vary depending
4
on
hours.
Yeah.
That's about how long
It's
I
over.
usually do. Yeah. It can vary depending on what it is you're trying. If you're cutting out dairy, see if you feel better, 30 days. With what I specifically did a SIBO killing protocol.
Okay, what is SIBO?
Yes, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It's basically where some bacteria that's supposed to be in the large intestine travels into the small intestine where it's not supposed to be.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so when you eat, the bacteria starts to digest the food before it's supposed to.
In the small intestine instead of the large intestine.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
and so
interesting. Okay.
so a lot of people are kind of confused about SIBO, thinking it's just dysbiosis, like bad bacteria.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. You can have both at the same time.
Right.
But it can just be good bacteria that you want, but you just want it in your large intestine instead of in your small intestine.
And how do you even find out you have that? Can you get diagnosed with
Yeah, there's a breath test.
that? Okay.
So I did a video on it where, because it is kind of intimidating, where you have these tubes and you have to drink a thing and then you blow into the tubes at certain intervals and then you mail that in and they test it. And so the timing is the issue, because you're going to have these things on your breath when the bacteria starts eating it.
Right.
And so if you have the things on the breath soon, you know that the small intestine is where the bacteria is.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So after I got diagnosed with SIBO, I went on a SIBO killing protocol, and it definitely got worse before it got better.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
My digestion got way worse. One thing about SIBO is that if you go on like a carnivore diet or something that really suppresses the symptoms, it actually puts the bacteria to sleep. And you can't kill it as easily.
Oh.
Yes, so you actually want to be eating things that keep it awake. So I had to add more carbs to
that
my diet at the
crazy?
time when my body was not handling them well.
Well,
And
that
more
sounds
fiber.
delightful.
Yes, it was not pleasant. That protocol took about 6 months, and it wasn't until the very end that I really started feeling better and had like a complete transformation.
So how do you stay motivated through 6 months of that? You're just like, here we
Miserable.
go,
Yeah.
we're gonna get this.
I
Wow.
mean, I did a lot of research to where I was really convinced that it would get better.
Okay.
So that's part of it, like being really confident in your care team and the information that you're working off of. But yeah, and it's like once you start, you have to finish. It's kind of like antibiotics. It's obviously not the
Okay,
same as
yeah.
antibiotics, but the idea that if you just do it a little bit and stop, it makes
not
it way
gonna-
worse. Yeah, and so it's a similar thing to that, because you're taking natural antibiotics to kill off different things, and you just have to kind of see it to the end.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're just cutting out dairy to see if you feel better, you probably don't have to do 6 months. You could probably see that in 30 days. But if you get diagnosed with something and you really are trying to make a big change in your digestion, you got to give it a long time, 3 to 6 months, depending on what it is.
One of the things that you used was an L-reuteri.
Yes.
A lot of times when people were talking about this, it's like, well, L-reuteri. And I was like, what?
Wait, what did you
the
even
heck
say?
is that? It's a type of yogurt that has a specific culture in it.
Yes.
What's going on with that? What's L-reuteri?
Yeah, it's Lactobacillus reuteri or reuteri, or no one knows exactly how to pronounce it.
Sure.
Everyone will say it different, and you will get many comments letting you know that you said it wrong.
You're like, engagement.
Exactly. Okay, so that is a probiotic, one that apparently we used to all have in our digestion to different degrees, but that has been wiped out by modern antibiotic use. And it's one where if it gets wiped out, unless you're taking it, you don't get it back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so Dr. Davis, he wrote the book Super Gut. He has really studied it, and he's been the one that has made this recipe where you can get the tablets, and you can take, probiotic tablets of L-reuteri, but it's a very small amount.
Right.
And if you really want the therapeutic amount to really repopulate your gut with it, the best way to do it is to make a yogurt out of it. And it's like a really long ferment. It's 36 hours.
Oh, wow.
And so by the end, it's just massively more than it started. And one amazing thing about L-reuteri is that it actually populates the small intestine.
Okay.
So most of the probiotics that we get in our food go into the large intestine. That's where they're supposed to be. But this is one unique one that populates the small intestine.
Huh.
So when you have SIBO, it could really help because it can push the other things out.
It's like, this is my spot.
Exactly. And so interestingly, this little tidbit, when you are taking the L-reuteri, the breath test is not accurate.
Oh.
So you have to be off of the L-reuteri for about 2 weeks before you can get the breath test because it does live in the small intestine, and so you will see.
So then it would almost trigger it the same.
Yeah, even though it's actually supposed to be there and it's good.
Huh.
Okay, so devil's advocate here. Okay. What would, in your personal, non-professional opinion, would it be problematic at all to try doing the L-reuteri protocol with whether you have SIBO or not?
Oh, I don't believe it would be problematic.
Okay.
The only way in which it might be is if your body is not ready for it. You could have some digestive issues, like just getting used to it. So some people will take it and have some symptoms pop up, detox symptoms and different things. So it's really good to start slow, but it's a probiotic that is, is something that apparently humans used to have and don't anymore. And like, if you go and read the benefits of L-reuteri, the probiotic, it will change the world. If everyone had if they were all, populated with the L-reuteri, it's like it says that it releases oxytocin, so people are happier, they love each other more and get along better. Like all these things, you're like, wow. I can't say that I saw a dramatic effect, like that, but it's something that everyone can benefit from, I think, unless you're dairy intolerant or, if you start too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does your whole family do keto?
No. I'm not one that would ever say carbs are poison, sweet potato is poison or anything like that. I think that whole foods can be healthy depending on your body. Like we talked about a minute ago, my body was responding to certain things in a certain way because of my body, not necessarily because of the food. And so little kids with their metabolisms, my husband with his metabolism, they can handle a lot more things. And so depending on time in your life and different other factors, gut health, all of that, I think there's a wide variety of things that people can eat and be healthy. So they are not keto. I've gone through a journey, there were times where I was like, everyone has to be keto, or everyone has to, be on the Whole30 or whatever it was. And I've really loosened up since then. Like we talked about, I try to focus on protein and make sure that they have a really healthy foundation of nutritious food. And then when they do have, whatever treat at a birthday party or when we're out, they've already got the foundation. It's not going to destroy them. They're not like, there's an analogy I love where it's like, a person standing on the edge of a cliff, one little push and they're at the bottom of the cliff. If you have your health in such a place where you're a little bit farther back, you get that same push and you're like, oh, I just fell down. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to really push them off the edge. And that's where I feel like my kids are. They don't have big health problems. Their metabolisms are fantastic. And so they get the little, a little push of birthday cake at a party. It's not gonna kill them. They've got a great foundation.
Your overall approach to eating is always changing.
Yes, it is.
You've actually said that you're working with a coach now who has you eating sweet potatoes.
Don't say that. I'm going to get canceled.
Okay. But your approach is always changing.
Yes.
You're trying to optimize what's best for you. Sometimes that involves doing the reuteri yogurt. Sometimes it involves eating more carbs than maybe what people would consider part of a ketogenic diet. You're still doing low carb. What's your overall approach to eating and figuring out what's working best for you?
Well, I try really hard not to be married to a label. Like I'm keto, therefore I must always have 20 grams of carbs per day. I'm not interested in, having that label. I'm more interested in being healthy.
Okay.
And so, if something comes along, because like I said, I thought that diet would fix it all for me. And so I had to really, shift from that and say, no, I need to actually take these supplements that are made from plants. When I thought, meat was the ultimate healthiest, that the only thing that I needed to fix me, and then I go and I take these supplements from plants that actually really transformed my health. So I've been really open to making changes that maybe go against the popular narrative of the low carb community, and going against the labels. And so when I was having some other health issues, trying to get my iron under control, because I would take iron supplements and they just wouldn't do anything, and all that. And so I was like, well, might as well try something else. And so I'm working with a coach, and he's very keto. And so he said, how about you try eating some carbs? And it's like, I'm at a place where my digestion can handle it.
Now, we're not talking about eating sweet rolls.
Oh, I'm eating Oreos and donuts. No, I'm eating a tiny bit of fruit,
Okay.
a little serving of sweet potato with my steak, extra vegetables.
Okay.
It's still very low carb.
Yeah.
It's very meat based still. It's just adding that little bit with the meal to maybe help with hormones. And we're still in the wait and see period. I don't want to make an assessment like, oh, everyone needs to go eat carbs or carbs are going to fix me. We're trying it, It doesn't hurt. Because my blood sugar is under control, I can handle the carbs. My digestion can handle the extra fiber now. Yeah. Why not? It's like if it doesn't work out, great. I can always go back. I'm not losing anything. Yeah.
Alicia's asking, I'm trying keto, but I have some questions. If I do keto-friendly foods, do portion sizes matter?
That's a great question. So I think it depends on where you're at in your journey. If you are just switching from the standard American diet, you should just eat as much as you need to be satisfied. Okay. Quitting sugar is really hard. And quitting sugar while also trying to cut portions and while you're hungry, for me, it would be impossible. Yeah. When I first went on the Atkins diet, I only counted carbs. That's the only thing. And besides that, I could eat as much as I wanted. And I think that's one of the reasons that I was able to stick to it and, lose that 40 pounds initially. So I do think that food amount ultimately matters.
Yeah.
And is something that you may or may not need to spend time thinking about. But in the beginning, just quit the sugar, get your body burning fat, up your protein, and then after that, if you're still, not losing the weight you want to lose or running into other issues, it might be something to look at, but it's definitely not the first thing I would recommend.
Yeah. Also, what if I cheat a day and have a banana or a potato? Will the diet still work? Do you add exercise to the diet? That was actually 2 questions. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think, again, depending on where you're at, if you're severely diabetic and can't handle sugar at all, then it might really cause you problems. If you struggle with going overboard on carbs just because you have one taste, just eating that banana.
One is too many, 10 is not enough.
Yes, and there are people that are like that. And so if you eat a banana and then you find yourself, going to the gas station to pick up whatever candy, then maybe it is not for you. But and I've been in that place before. I definitely when I was kicking sugar, I was the one is too many person. And now, at the place where I'm at now, I'm adding in 100 carbs a day. So I might have a potato or I might have a banana in a day, but it doesn't trigger me to go, clean out the pantry.
Yeah.
Again, keep coming back to it depends on where you're at. So if you are trying to just cut out sugar completely, some people do well with just complete abstinence. Nope, not going to do it. Other people can do better with kind of a paleo approach where they still have whole food carbs, some fruit, some potatoes. It kind of depends on where you're at. And, you can try it. It's like if you try having a meat-based diet with a little bit of carbs on the side and you find you're not satisfied or it's triggering you or anything like that, then maybe cut them out. Yeah. There's no exact right answer for everybody.
Yeah, and I think to add is learning about yourself, and at different times of your life, you're going to have different experiences, right? Yeah. So sometimes you would have to maybe visit into your brain and say, hey, can I handle having a cheat meal right now? Like, I don't, because I know myself, the first year, if I had anything carbs, I would just go off the deep end, and it was bad. And it took me a week to get back. It took me a week to get back because I was like, well, I'm eating it now. I might as well eat everything I possibly can. Yeah, definitely. So I think if you are learning about yourself in this time, learn what you can handle, what things are going to trigger you and not. Yeah. So like a piece of watermelon, I could eat the whole watermelon, but it's still going to be better than, French fries. Yeah. So it's just it's interesting how at different times in your life, whatever situation you're in, you're going to have different triggers, but learn about yourself as you're going.
Yeah. And then the exercise question, I do think exercise is very important. I think it's very separate from diet. Mm-hmm. So if you want to just keep it simple and tackle one thing at a time, great. Like if you can only focus on the diet, you can get real far with just diet. And I really did when I did the Atkins diet. I don't remember that I did any intentional exercise during that time, and I lost a ton of weight. But in order to get healthy, the healthiest, and remain healthy especially as you're aging, I think exercise is very important. So again, it depends on where you're at and what you can handle. I mean, we could go through and name 100 different healthy habits that someone could do that would be good for them. But handing that list to somebody and saying, okay, now start doing all of that tomorrow, that's not helpful for them. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to just focus on diet and get that under control, you will get very far. And then, again, think about it later on. Think about adding in the exercise and, take some time to focus on that. And it doesn't have to all be done at once.
Yeah. And I think one thing leads to another, and then also one thing affects the other. Because I know when I started exercising really hard, I was hungrier. Yes. And I think you just have to bring that to like a conscious level and be like, okay, why am I ornery and hangry? Oh, because I worked out really hard, so I need to kind of figure that into my routine so I can make sure that I'm eating enough to give me enough energy.
And then also people will find that once they change their diet and their blood sugar's under control, then they're not having the roller coaster of, exhaustion and all of that they actually are motivated to exercise. Mm-hmm. So when you're really in a rough metabolic place, trying to throw in the exercise really can be difficult. But if you get that metabolism piece in check first with the diet, sometimes adding exercise just comes naturally, and sometimes not, and you still have to make an effort, but it's a lot easier. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got a couple shorter questions for you. What are your favorite go-to meals for your family, for you to make? Yeah,
my favorite things to make are build your own meals.
Okay, like taco guts?
Yes, tacos, like baked potato bar, salad bar, build your own sandwich type stuff, because everyone has different tastes. I don't know if you've noticed.
I have
Not
noticed
everyone
that.
likes the same thing.
Yes.
And then everyone has different dietary preferences and needs. My son is allergic to eggs, of all things. And so, we have to make options for people. And so if I make, if we have people over and I make a baked potato bar, I can make some chili, potatoes, broccoli, ham, turkey, cheese sauce, and anyone can make something that works for them. So definitely the build your own. When it's like casseroles or lasagna or things like that, there's definitely ways to make those keto, which are great. But when you're feeding different dietary preferences, that can be a little bit tricky. So definitely the build your own. Any kind of build your own, I'm all about.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because we're having some struggles in our family too, where it's like, I want this, I
Yeah,
want
different
this.
people want
I'm
different
like,
things.
sorry, eat this.
Yeah.
I've got a kid who doesn't like Swiss cheese, which just blows my mind. Anyway.
I have a kid that doesn't like melted cheese.
Oh, they're wrong.
Exactly. That's what I keep telling them, and they won't listen. Those children.
All right. How many different iterations of the egg white bread recipe have you come up with?
I do not have a number for that.
Have you considered making a Wikipedia page that lists your current best version?
Well, I do have a video
Okay.
where I talk about the different versions and what they would be good for. Because
Okay.
there's this idea that there's just one bread recipe
Yeah.
that you need. Well, you go into a bakery, they have lots of different.
Yeah. This one has shredded butter in it. This
Yes.
one has, what was the arrowroot?
Arrowroot, butter powder,
Yeah.
different fibers, and they're different for different things.
Okay.
So there's some loaf recipes that are great for sandwiches. There's some like buns that are more like almost like a bagel consistency. So spread some cream cheese on there. It'd be fantastic. So some are like really fluffy. Some are a little more dense. They're just different recipes.
Yeah.
So I do have a video where I just talk through like all the different ones that are my favorite and like what you would want to use them for. Like I have some Kalamata olive rosemary rolls. So good.
Okay.
So good. I mean, and you can just eat them straight. They're not, you don't have to make them a sandwich. And so there's all different kinds. And for anything you want to make.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What's your favorite flavor of Keto Chow?
Oh gosh, you got to make me pick that too.
You have to have one. See, the problem is people ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know. What day is it today?
Yeah, it's like comparing.
Better than what's your favorite flavor. What's the flavor of Keto Chow you find yourself making most frequently?
It's probably right now chocolate malt.
Okay.
Yeah, I love chocolate malt.
Now, when chocolate malt came out, you had your husband taste it. He actually was able to identify it, which was pretty amazing to me because the malt
got
is kind of
superpowers.
nuanced.
Yeah.
The malt flavor. There's not a lot of chocolate in it.
No.
Just because it's hard to have both of those flavors at the same time. But so you're making a lot of the chocolate malt.
Yeah.
And do you typically do it as a shake or
As a milkshake.
as a milkshake?
Our favorite in the house is a milkshake made with butter. So I do it in my Vitamix.
Okay.
And get some hot water, butter, Keto Chow mixed up, add ice, blend on high until it's like milkshake.
Nice.
Yeah, that's our absolute favorite.
Now, are you making a couple of them and letting them sit, or do you just not have that sort of drive to be able to do them ahead of time and you have to do them right away?
Since I like the milkshake way
With
to
the
drink
ice.
it, yes,
Yeah.
you can't make that ahead of time.
That's true.
And so I find myself just making one at a time.
Okay.
I've thought about trying to meal prep a little bit more, and I keep thinking I should do that, but I just love the milkshake so much.
Okay.
I mean, even more, I think I like the milkshake even more than the creamy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the way my husband likes it too. And this is what's great about Keto Chow is you can customize it for your own needs with the amount of fat. And so he gets half a stick of butter. I do quarter stick of butter in mine. So I have to make them a little bit differently too.
Yeah.
So, for our own personal needs. So.
Okay, now officially Keto Chow is not recommended for children or nursing or pregnant mothers. I give it to my own kids. Do you allow your kids to drink Keto Chow?
No, I do, absolutely. And I have a couple kids that love it, a couple kids that are not fans.
Okay.
They like the idea of it, so they get real excited whenever there's a new flavor.
Yeah.
But they're like,
oh yeah, it's so gross.
I guess I won't try it.
Well, and you're not giving them like an entire shaker full.
Not at a meal, no. Renee, my 9-year-old, is she 9? She's almost 9. She's the biggest fan of Keto Chow in the house, and she will make an entire shaker bottle. She knows how to do it herself with cream.
Oh, wow.
She'll shake it all up, and she'll drink, maybe a quarter of it, and then she'll put it in the fridge, and then whenever she wants more, she'll have another quarter. She loves that.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. She always helps me with the unboxings and stuff. It's one of our favorite things in the month to do together.
Nice.
So is there anything that we didn't talk about that you just want to really beat your drum about?
I guess just keto can be simple. It doesn't like like we said, we can make 100 different habits to throw at somebody, but it can be simple, and Keto Chow can help make it simple. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Oh,
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. If you have any questions that we didn't touch on, maybe Nili will pop into the comments and answer them.
I'm on YouTube every once in a while.
Yeah.
The YouTubes. Well, thanks everybody and have a great day.
Bye.
That's your camera.
Oh, that's it?
So you should probably wave right there.
So wait.